Good morning. Let's just wait a minute and see if anybody pops on so that we can make sure that you can hear our audio just fine. This is Lianne Phillipson coming to you from Sprout Right headquarters with the sleep doula, Tracey. And I actually probably should have plugged in my microphone. I might do that so once somebody jumps on, then we can make sure that everybody hears. We've got a couple of questions that we're going to go over that we got back from the newsletter last night. And so we'll see about that. But please, anybody, type in your questions, even if you're watching this after the fact. Then, this will help, I think. I'll just put this here on my shoulder. Then, even if it's after the fact, I'm going to put it here. Then just type in your questions and then tag Tracey, and we'll get you those answers, because sleeping and eating, are they not the hottest topics for new parents?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So why don't you tell everybody that doesn't know about the sleep doula? How long have you been sleep training babies and toddlers, and probably even teens and adults?
No, I won't do teens and adults. They're too much trouble.
Okay.
So we work with families from pretty much from newborn until age 12.
Okay.
And I've probably been doing this now for, oh my gosh, I'd say at least 16 years probably, maybe even 17.
Yeah.
Started out as a birth doula, then a postpartum doula, and then of course was helping our families get children sleeping through the night anyway, so I became the sleep doula.
Ah.
And now I spend a lot of time with babies, but I spend an incredible amount of time with toddlers.
Right.
So had a fun night with one of them last night.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yes. And got them sleeping?
Yeah. Went down to bed without crying and slept the entire night. So I woke up at 4:30 and mom just had to say, go back to bed. And it was an awesome night. So the parents were pretty pleased.
Okay. And is that normally what happens? First night, you're there.
It depends on what the families need, but a lot of times people just need a plan. And so in this case, they're actually old clients, so they felt having a face-to-face with, I don't actually call myself the sleep doula to toddlers, I call myself the sleep teacher.
Right.
So meeting the teacher was important for that child.
Okay.
And we went over the rules, and it was a great night.
Okay. So if anybody needs help with sleep, and we're going to ask some of the questions that we've got, what is it? What are the different tiers or packages that you offer as part of your service?
So we do phone consultations, we do in-home consultations, and we do in-home support.
Okay.
But the key thing that we offer with all of our packages is 24-hour support. So when you're implementing, you can text, email, or call me at 3 o'clock in the morning, which people do.
They do.
And I think that's when most people end up falling apart anyways, is at 3 o'clock in the morning.
It's a really tough time.
Yeah.
Because everybody's tired and
exhausted, and the books won't answer you back at that hour.
No.
But I will.
Okay. And then you get them back on track, and then off they go again.
Absolutely.
Renewed in their confidence.
Yep.
Do you find that it's confidence? I find with food a lot of the time, especially with picky toddlers, it's a lot about the parents' confidence and their wavering and not holding a tight boundary.
Parents with consistency.
Right.
That's the key component, is that, the parents say if you want your children to be consistent, you have to be consistent.
Really good. Very, very good. That's totally tweetable. Anyway, we've got Kristen just checking in on us. Can you hear us okay, Kristen? If you want to just type in that you're hearing everything okay, you can let me know. There we go. We're completely backwards when we look online, but that's totally fine. We can flip the screen. Okay, so I'm assuming that Tracey, that I'm going to put the mic on you, because I think actually you need a bit more than I do.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, so let's ask our first question, which came from Sarah. It says, my baby is just 3 months now, and I think I should start training slowly now as opposed to when I waited until 18 months with my now 3-year-old who is in desperation with sleep deprivation and emotional fog. Yep, sounds good. Okay, so we've got audio. Should I approach naps first? What's the best first step in sleep training at this age? So this is a 3-month-old.
So I would never recommend sleep training before 4 months of age, but you can do, in a sense, some sleep nurturing at this time.
Okay.
And that would be what I would probably do, is break up the food sleep association. So I wouldn't be into kind of doing any major training, but I would be in a sense of doing, feed and then maybe doing bath, pajamas, book, bed, or feed, change a diaper, wipe their face and put them down. So not having that food to sleep situation.
Okay.
Also having a nice little routine when it comes to nighttime, and also having a nice schedule during the day. And it doesn't have to be an anal retentive schedule, but just something that is consistent throughout the day.
Okay.
So that, you have the same wake up time, you have the same bedtime, have pretty much the same naps all day long.
Okay, so let's say in Sarah's case that naps are not happening. I do remember that happened for me. So no, the nap is kind of like in the car. It was like finally just crashed in the car.
So I try to put, especially at that age, they probably shouldn't be staying up for more than an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay.
And then they should be going down again. And if it means that it has to be done on the go, I'm actually totally fine with that. Okay. That can be something that when you want to modify it when you're doing some sleep training, that can easily be done. But the key thing right now is to make sure that you have a beginning of the day and end of the day that are consistent. Okay. So that even if they had a rough night, you're not going to let them sleep until 10 o'clock in the morning.
So go to sleep at the same time, wake at the same time.
Yep,
and
then
if
have
you're
routines.
Waking them up at 7 o'clock.
Correct.
That's totally
just like
fine.
if they were a teenager last night and had a big party.
Okay.
You're still going to wake them up at 7 o'clock.
Okay. All right. And then nap about an hour and a half or so later, but don't fall asleep at the breast or bottle.
Correct.
Okay. Good. Those are great places to start for Sarah. Thank you. Lori, she wrote and said, I have an almost 6-month-old daughter. Bit different. She prefers to do all her sleeping at the breast and does not like to be put down to sleep, both for naps and at night. It's exhausting and isolating. I bet it is, Lori. Wow, this is a tricky one. I have 2 older boys, 5 and 3, that she also has to manage. Tough one. Any advice from the sleep doula would be helpful.
So the first thing is, and it leads right back to what the 3-month-old is, to break up that food-sleep association.
Okay.
So a lot of times when you notice when they're breastfeeding, they're going to be sitting on there and they're going to be doing that non-nutritive sucking.
Yeah.
When they're on the breast and they're nutritively sucking, they can stay there, but when they're non-nutritive, take them off.
Okay.
And then start using other tools to put them down, be it that you're going to use movement or you're going to use,
a soother? You just replace
some people
the
use
nipple
soother.
for a soother, or
Well,
is that?
It depends, because sometimes at that age they won't accept that at this point.
Okay.
But the key thing, be it you try rocking or throwing them into the stroller and going for a walk.
Okay.
The key thing is to start breaking that food-sleep association.
Okay.
But actually that age is a perfect time to do sleep training.
Oh, really?
And so, it's a great time to say, okay, let's create a plan and be able to follow through with it.
Okay.
And usually within about 3 days, you'll see significant difference.
Really?
Yeah.
So what I'm imagining, and I think when my daughter was 6-month-old or whatever, I can't even remember how old, there was if they're on the breast, then, break the seal, take them off, and then they go and start to cry and freak out, and it's like, what happened to my, human soother?
Right.
So that's when you would say, okay, we're going to go for a quick walk, or start to bounce, or just do anything.
Or if it's bedtime
other.
routine, then you do your bath, pajamas, book, bed, and then put them down fully wide awake.
Okay.
I don't believe in the drowsy but awake. I think that's a scam.
Oh, no drowsy.
No drowsy.
Okay, fully awake.
Fully awake.
Good night. Swaddle?
Now, at 6 months, chances are that one's rolling over, so you wouldn't swaddle. But,
Okay.
They've got their own tools
So for
to be
Sarah,
able to
at 3
self-soothe.
months, definitely swaddle?
I would still swaddle. Yeah.
Okay. And when do you tend to stop swaddling?
When they are starting to figure out how to roll over. So
Okay.
usually post 4 months.
Okay. That rollover is a really tricky time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because they don't know
once they
until
know how to
full
roll
time
over, I
do
think
that.
it's great.
Yeah?
Yeah, so I find children, once the SIDS Foundation says if they're 4 months of age and they roll over by themselves,
Yeah.
they can stay there. And most kids do much better at comforting themselves there.
When they're on their belly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because then they can use their hands, they can rub their face.
And then at what time, I remember Logan flipping over, and then she kind of just would sit here for a little while, and then I'd watch her freaking out because I thought she was going to suffocate.
And then she'd
On
move her
the
head to the
mattress.
side.
No, and then I did it for her.
Yeah, you got to give her time.
Okay.
She'll be fine.
Okay. Well, she's still alive, so we did at least do that. Okay, so break. So for Lori, it's break that food and sleep cycle first of all,
Yep.
and then after that, she's got the 2 other kids running around too, so she's going to have to learn to sleep in noise and.
Absolutely. You don't
all
want to
that
have a
kind of
perfect
stuff.
environment. And that's where, when you're doing the sleep training, you would want to make sure that you have somebody who's assigned to the older 2 and then somebody who's assigned to the baby for the sleep training.
Okay, so 3 days of really focused sleep training.
Yeah, and then you'll have a much easier life for everybody involved.
And then you're pretty good.
Yep.
Okay, Lori, it sounds like you might need to have Tracey over, or at least for a consultation. Okay, so a question that I would like to pose is from the food aspect. How much does food and hunger play into those sleep habits of them still waking up so many times during the night?
Well, I find it plays into the parents quite a lot. So they're always concerned that, my kid didn't eat enough and that's why they're waking up at night.
Okay.
But generally, if you want children to eat better during the day, then you need to close the buffet at night. Okay. And so, I get a lot of people who are, they don't eat much during the day, especially with toddlers. And I'll say, yes, but you're buffeting all night long, so they don't have to eat better during the day.
Yes, I without a doubt see this happen. And even in a 9-month-old, let's say, or sometimes even younger, where they're nursing, but then they're like, oh, what's over there? It's like squirrel all the time. So they're doing that. So they're actually not eating very much during the day. Right. They're not nursing very much during the day. And then at nighttime, like you said, it's the all-night buffet.
Yeah, because they can focus because there's no distractions. But when they realize that the buffet gets closed at night, they do much better eating during the day.
So how would you go about implementing that shut off the night buffet?
It's a personal choice, depends on their age. Some people will just go for, like as they say, cold turkey, where you just say the buffet is closed. Other people might say, okay, I'm going to incorporate a dream feed in there just so that they have that.
Okay.
Mom feels a little bit more confident that they're okay, I've had at least a little catch up there for them.
Okay.
But, they're pretty smart kids.
Right.
And they'll do quite fine. And, the thing is that you want them to eat better during the day. And even for the low weight babies that I've worked with, we found that during the day then, if they're not eating at night, that the parents can give them more higher fat content. And so that they can actually help them with their weight gain.
Fabulous. So again, really not taking away any nighttime feeding much before 4 months of age if you're not doing any sleep training?
If they're naturally doing it on their own, that's fine. But, usually I don't suggest any kind of sleep training until 4 months.
Okay, so still all-night buffet up until that point. And then if that's what's happening, if that's what you're seeing when you have a consult with them, then that's when things start to change. Okay. Now, another thing that I had a client the other day who, not so much with a baby, but with a toddler, does need to do some sleep training. It's amazing how many times I suggest that people reach out to you because the sleeping and the eating goes hand in hand so much. And parents do really get, you must know it if you're watching this, that you do, as Tracey said, get so worried about my baby hasn't eaten enough, so are they gonna have enough nutrients and all that kind of stuff during a week, let's say. But I think if you just take a step back, tell me if I'm wrong, but if you take a step back and just think, okay, this is a certain period of time that we're dealing with this. So yes, the calories or the nutrients may go down, but it's short-lived before things get flipped around again.
It's less than 12 hours lived.
Right.
And then the next day, I see parents all the time where their child was nursing every hour, and then the next morning they do this humongous feed, and they eat great all day long, so they're able to make up for what they lost last night. But it's a catch-22. As long as you're buffeting at night, they'll never eat better during the day.
Right. Okay. So something has to change. So with this toddler, with this client that I had the other day, she was most concerned that if her toddler didn't eat well, especially at dinner time, and we were talking about maybe not having so much milk at nighttime, because when I was talking about the 24-hour period of what this toddler was eating, having a lot of milk before bed was a concentrated source of intake. But if she didn't have that, then Mum was really worried that, of course she's going to wake up, she's going to be hungry
she won't be hungry
all night long, and then that precipitated the wake, the eat, the whatever. I would understand that there has to be a metabolic thing going on where if they're waking up at 3:00 every night, it's if I started eating at 3 a.m., I'd probably start waking up at 3 a.m. going, oh yeah, I am hungry, I need to go and eat.
But at 3 o'clock in the morning when they're waking up, it's not really due to that they need to eat. It's because that just happens to be the sleep cycle.
Okay.
And how they went to sleep was what they're expecting. So if mom held their hand or laid down with them,
Okay.
and giving you an example would have been last night, is that this child normally gets laid down with. And then, of course, in the middle of the night, the child wakes up and starts screaming because mom's not there anymore. And then she spends the rest of the night till morning in bed with the child.
Right.
Otherwise, the child continues to wake up.
Right.
Where last night, she went to bed by herself and she used her own tools to go to sleep. And of course, she woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So she had slept all the way through, which she has not done in over a year. And she woke up at 4 and mom gave her some reassurance to go back to bed.
Yeah.
And she went back to bed without needing mom's assistance.
On her own.
And then woke up this morning at 7:30.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So it's, it's not about food.
No.
It's about the habit of the food is a lot of people's problem.
Right. Okay. So more food during the day.
Yeah.
And when you're suggesting to take away the all-night buffet and the child is eating more during the day, if they're having solids and breast milk or formula, should the parents maybe, from the sleep standpoint, be feeding more food? More solid food, or doesn't it
doesn't
matter?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. So it really just is breaking. It's just
was that what they were also giving their kids to bed. I saw popsicle happening. I saw a lot of stuff that had a lot of high sugar content in it.
Okay.
And so I also encourage my clients to stay away from giving a lot of sugar at nighttime. If you're having a little treat with dessert, that's fine, but nothing as a snack that has high sugar content.
Yes. Well,
aren't you proud of me, Lianne?
I'm very proud of you, Tracey.
No Jell-O.
No Jell-O. Tracey and I go out for lunch. She sometimes says Jell-O is dessert, and I'm insisting no more Jell-O, Tracey. So you've got there now, though, haven't you? She's on more of a New Year's healthy kick, which is fantastic. So if you've got any more questions and you're on live, then do type them in, and we'll get to those. So just some other things that I, without a doubt, see with the parents. There are some parents that try and do a bit more of a step approach to, rather than the all-night buffet going, they decide, at the 3 o'clock feed that they will feed their baby, but then any other time they don't. But if they're still falling asleep at the breast or at the bottle at 3 o'clock, how do you isolate it? Where's like a middle ground so that maybe parents could feel like they're not, if they're in that mindset of my baby or my child's going to starve overnight, which they truthfully won't. But if you're in that mindset, then is there like a middle ground until the midnight buffet is gone?
Like I said, I would do a dream feed. So I'd offer a feed that you're dictating, not them. But when people say, I'm going to feed on this one and not on that one, it doesn't really work very well, because what ends up happening is, how do they know? You didn't give them a itinerary for that evening about when they're going to get fed. And so they have to keep on guessing. Do I get fed now? No, I don't get fed now. Do I get fed now? No, I don't get fed now. So it's better to, in a sense, say, okay, I'll do you dream feed. So that gives me the confidence to say, I know you've been topped up.
Yeah.
But so I know when you wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, if I dream fed you at 11 o'clock, I know you're not hungry.
Right.
And a dream feed means also that you're not waking them up. You're picking them up from a sleep state, feeding them, burping them, and putting them back where you found them.
Okay. So they really are just in that dream state.
Correct.
You're not saying, okay,
come
on, let's go and have something
Yeah,
to
and
eat.
it shouldn't be a humongous feed either, right? So
Okay, so it's just a little bit of a top-up.
yeah, it's a top-up.
And that gives parents confidence that they're not going 12 hours all of a sudden out of the blue.
Correct.
And you could start that right at 4 months too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the switch with 4 months?
It's just the awareness that ends up happening. So there's a developmental awareness that it's just an easier time to sleep train. Some kids will, can, in a sense, have healthier sleep habits much earlier. We work with families from the day they're born. And for some of those kids, we don't ever have to do any sleep training with them because we taught them healthy sleep habits from the beginning.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole other ballgame.
Yes.
Because I definitely hear about babies before 4 months of age sleeping well.
Absolutely.
And then at 4 months of age, it all falls apart.
The 4-month regression, which is totally normal.
Yeah. So I always wondered if it was maybe the teeth were moving in or something like that.
That's just that awareness that happened.
Is it?
Yeah.
Interesting. Because that, without a doubt, is a trend.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's the typical 4-month regression.
Okay. Interesting. All right. I don't think we have any other questions that have come in. So if you're watching this live after the fact, then do type in your questions and let us know, and we'll get those questions over to Tracey and she can answer them for us. And then You can always check out all of her fantastic services. Anyone, sorry, that could be the mailman. Anyone that's ever worked with Tracey and myself together, we do offer services together as well. But anybody that's worked with both of us, they're very happy parents because they have children who are eating well, and the parents are feeling confident about that. They start solids with ease, and then they're also sleeping, so parents can make the food because they're not quite so exhausted and overwhelmed, and they can take in the information from the New Eaters Club or a workshop or whatever that happens to be, or a consultation. So thank you very much for coming along and
Thanks for having me.
Chatting, and do check out thesleepdoula.com.
Nope, it's just the Sleep Doula.
Sleepdoula.com for more of Tracey's information. And do you ever speak anywhere? Do you ever do workshops a bit?
Yeah, periodically.
Periodically?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can also catch Tracey speaking too. And if there's a million questions, then maybe we'll have Tracey back another time on our Facebook Live. So thanks so much, and have a beautiful and restful, healthy, and healthy day. Take good care.